I'm here with the great Alessandra Binazzi in Montreal at Gala, and we're talking a little bit about the future of localization and the opportunities it presents. You just had a presentation that I watched
pizza.
on this very topic, and we learned a lot about pizza. Apparently, it's still forbidden to put pineapple on pizza.
In my mind.
All right, good. So one of the topics that we're talking about a lot in the localization industry is lang-ops, and how do you see lang-ops fitting in the broader globalization strategy of modern companies?
Well, in my mind, lang-ops has always fit into the organization's global strategy. I think even the term lang-ops gives us an opportunity to maybe articulate better how we can contribute to that global strategy and how we should be involved. So I think it represents really like a connective tissue when it comes to multilingual and communicating with your global markets. lang-ops can be the connective tissue for the various parts of the organization, so from product to marketing to customer service and everything else. It really enables organizations to create, curate, and deploy content in an efficient way. I mean, it's simple, but it's not. But really, the ultimate goal is that being able to adapt, transform, and deploy really incredible volumes of content in many, many languages in a streamlined manner. And there's no other part of the organization who could ever do that.
Yeah, very good. And there's obviously some challenges with that. It often gets associated with shifting left, meaning that we're going to have to go higher up the food chain in order to negotiate with organizations to implement some of these strategic efforts around language. What are the biggest challenges that you commonly encounter as a consultant implementing some of these new frameworks?
The challenge is usually shifting left. So really, and I don't mean up, I mean left. So working is part of the other functions within the organization that we normally work with and support. So, and we hear this a lot, that localization of lang-ops is seen as a siloed activity that happens on the side or oftentimes at the end of many processes. But the trick is to really move inside these functions and work together to make sure that the multilingual element is considered from the start. And there's a few tricks or a few tactics.
We're interested in those. Go ahead.
Well, they're not easy tricks, believe me, but a few tactics that I've always found hugely effective. And that's around KPIs. So really making sure that the lang-ops API are tied to business goals and not to localization specific goals. We are contributing to the global growth, so we need to make sure that what we do is actually contributing to those KPIs that the business is looking at when they're considering what global growth success means.
Outcome-based is what you're talking about.
Yes, and one really effective way of doing that is to have shared OKRs with many of the functions that we work with. That really enables embedding of our operations in other functions' operations, and it helps the other functions understand the importance of including us early.
I'm going to throw you a little curveball here because I'm really interested in that particular topic. One of the challenges I think with shifting left is finding out who we really need to talk to, because we're used to talking to localization people.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about an infrastructure that is much broader than just translation, you find out that you have to deal with different entities right away. So as a consultant, do you have any experience as to what type of people we need to aim for in the organization to have those conversations with for a broader perspective that is more lang-ops oriented?
Yeah, I mean, usually it's the product teams, and product teams are usually cross-functional teams already. So you're talking about a product manager, which is a cross-functional role. But within a product team, you have UX, UX UI, you have development, you have QA, which may be or may not be part of development, and as satellite functions to that, you also have marketing and support. So you really are touching all the major functions. So being part of the product life cycle is a really good way of finding out who the right people are to speak to in the different functions.
Very, very interesting. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is because you have so much experience as a consultant implementing these localization strategies and helping customers. What do you see as the major emerging trends and influences that we're seeing in the localization industry, particularly with the advancement of AI and automation?
Of course, AI has to be part of the conversation. To me, automation was always part of our, of our DNA. So, and it's actually a prerequisite to being able to have an AI-ready company. So without automation, it's really, really difficult to gather and process data. Yeah. And manipulate data and curate data. Yeah. Without automation, you really are ill-prepared to do that. And of course, that is the basis of AI. Yeah. So until you automate, you have no chance, in my mind, to really have any kind of impact with AI. When it comes to AI, the trends are several. We do hear a lot about using AI for any type of post-editing of localized content. So, autocorrection, QE, those are probably the things that we hear about the most. Yeah. But I would also say that the pre-processing, including AI to actually do some content engineering on the source side. Because as we know, garbage in is garbage out. So if we can influence the quality of the source content that is coming into the pipeline, that's a huge advantage. And now, of course, many organizations are generating content. So there's even less control, let's say, on the quality of that content. So having these pre-processing AI agents or operations or whatever you want to call them, I think, is an emerging trend. In addition to that, I've started to see companies also play around with using AI to build content on the fly. Not content on the fly, but let's say build experiences on the fly. So looking at what the specific user is looking for, and then with a modular approach to content, then kind of building the web page or app screen or whatever on the fly for the specific user. So that's a really interesting trend to me that I'd like to explore more.
Almost language agnostic, as if companies are going to move away from necessarily having a source and a target, but kind of creating it on the fly from scratch.
Absolutely, based on the user location, even possibly regulatory restrictions or requirements, and just user preferences from what we know of them from using our product.
Awesome. Alessandra, thank you so very much for sitting down with us for 10 minutes and unloading all your inside knowledge. I'm super happy that we had this conversation.
Me too.
And I hope
Thanks
we get to talk soon
me.
again. All right.
Yes, thank you so much.